a little more and a little deeper than just in terms of what the oh, we're going live.
Yep, we're about to go live right now.
And a little deeper than just in terms of
this. Let me get this into a couple other Facebook groups. But your leads manager script has been an absolute godsend.
The script?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, man. I'm glad you liked it.
It has been so much easier, dude. Because it let me share this in some groups. Because now we have like our leads managers in place, and they cover mostly everything, and then it gets to us like, okay, I think we can do this, and that's about all. It's not a whole lot of anything else. And then finding I'd say our biggest thing has been finding people who are just high energy, who want to who are leads managers, because our company sources them too. But it's you just have to be high energy. We have our one person's Filipino, like that's all.
Everybody else is hired in States?
No, I don't have anybody in the States. My entire business is run with VAs. Like support, everything is all
right on. Nice.
VAs. And you have all your sales guys are in state, correct?
Yeah, they are. And most all my guys were in town actually, so hitting my local market. I brought in another guy. His name is Alex. He's doing pretty good. He's out of Orlando, Florida. So now we were locking virtually, but from Phoenix. Now we have he's virtual and he's locking virtual. So
how's it been developing that culture?
I think at the end of the day, man, it comes down to like me being part of the team. I see, like we were talking about this a little earlier, and then you asked me, like if I'm still working in the business or on the business, and it's I'm not in the business per se as far as like making all the calls and following up and all that stuff, right? So the team is handling that stuff, but I think I'm still pretty adamant about touching base with everybody in the team, even though we're virtual. Everybody understands that we're virtual. I mean, with the whole COVID and everything going on, it's hard to keep everybody in house, anyways.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter that you can't reach out, to your acquisition guy who's in Florida, and then, hey, what's up, man? How are you doing? And then just build that cohesion, you know what I mean? And then talk to your, like my VA, actually she's my executive assistant now, but she's Filipino. She's from overseas, and she handles a lot of the stuff. But same thing. So as far as building that culture it's really taking an honest interest, man, of what your team wants to do. And I think that goes a long way. I do. So the way that we break down the meetings is on Mondays, I'll do a management meeting, right? And I'll sit down with my director of operations, and then we go over everything, the numbers, the deals, the whiteboard, issues, or whatever might be upcoming. We do that on Mondays. And then we have the team huddles during the week. But the reason I say that is because on Mondays, when we get together, we start the meetings, and the first thing that we have as a priority in the meetings, it's three little boxes inside the our meeting app, right? And it's actually inside the app. So the first checklist box is it's talking about gratitude. So anything that we're grateful for that week, which is, I mean, it's pretty, everybody talks about gratitude, but I don't see a lot of people bringing it in officially into the workplace environment. So him and I, it's management. If you have a team of 50, you can't do that, right? But you can do it with your management team. So we'll go in, we'll talk about gratitude, and then we'll have a conversation. And if it takes 30 minutes, it takes 30 minutes. And then we'll do a top 3, which means what are the top 3 navigators, top 3 priorities that we're going to focus and how we're doing on those. And then we'll move on to awareness. So we talk about those 3 things. And what I found out, man, is that it helps me stay in touch. But my director of operations, his name's Renee, he enjoys it as well. And it's a pretty good clarifying session that doesn't just hit the professional side, but also the personal, especially, when you're talking about the top 3. And it'll hit the professional and personal side of things. So just having that whole connection and and really, I mean, I'm not saying get super, super personal in everybody else's business, but just, you know, have them have a sense of feeling that they, you know, they belong and that you're there for.
Awesome. I want to get back to that, but let's start off. This is Rafael Cortez, the mastermind behind the CEO of Pulse Podio, organizational psychologist. Could you just tell us a little bit about what you have going on now, your businesses that you run, and then how you got started in real estate?
Absolutely. So my first business was actually, it had nothing to do with real estate. It was a medical transportation company. And I launched that in 2007. I sold it in 2014. During that time, I started doing rehabs. So I tapped into rehabbing late 2009, had a couple of projects, but I started with the idea of selling the business and wanted to transition into something else, right? So long story short, I went to a couple of seminars like everybody else. They talked about wholesaling, they talk about flipping, and wholesaling really caught my eye because it's pushing paper. It's just, you know, vested interest other than you know, managing people. And at the time I was managing I think 46 employees between my businesses, and I mean, that was daunting. It's just headaches. So I wanted something that you know, that could be leaned out, and wholesaling just, you know, was appealing. I started looking into it, started, you know, researching more of it, and did a couple wholesale deals. And then I got blessed actually with the opportunity to go work for Sean Terry. He happened to be hiring, and I think this was 2013, 2014. I went in there, started working for him, and then, I mean, from that point on, I was like, real estate is my thing. So I stayed there for 3 years running acquisitions. We did pretty good. I learned a lot from the team, from him, just from experience, and I've always owned my own businesses since I was 21. And this was the first time where I went back to work after I left the fire department for a company that wasn't mine. Totally worth it, and I mean, one of the best experiences. But so I did that, and then when I left, I stayed in real estate. I left Sean's company, and I had my fix and flip, which is Pulse Capital, and we do wholesaling as well through it, of course. And then I was going through my second master's degree on psychology, organizational psychology, and I started the practice, which is coaching, consulting, business development, and operations. I really like messing with operations and fine-tuning stuff. So yeah, at this point right now, I'm running CEO Pulse, Pulse Capital, and then I'm also a real estate broker. So I own Pulse Realty and Associates. We're all everything's based out of Phoenix.
Awesome. It's insane how much you do. Like you can accomplish. I remember being like, man, I don't even know how I can fit as much in my day. And you're like, well, you need to time block everything just to make everything work out. Because you have 4 different companies or 3 different companies going. And you're like, and then you don't even start until what, like 10 a.m. Like you have a bunch of like me time in the mornings.
I do for the most part. Anything before 10 a.m. is me time. It's my zen. It's but yeah, you're right. It wouldn't work well if I wasn't able to time block things. So more than time blocking, I guess I see it as a little different. It's not, for example, I'm the type of guy that if I set something on the schedule, I'm gonna have, you know, this type of, let's say, workout in the mornings, every morning at 7 a.m. It's gonna be 3 days and I'm gonna get bored. So I can't schedule like that. However, for example, now what I do is I leave open spaces for example, I have an open space between 5 and 6 for meditation and connection. That's what I call it. From 6 to 8, I have that open space for creativity. So anything that I'm working on that I'm excited about takes creative juices out of me and everything. It's going to happen between 7 and 8. And then 8 to 10 is fitness and growth, which if I'm working out, which I do almost every day, I'll drop in a audiobook or something like that, but I'll use that time to work out and read. And then when I hit 10, like everything that I wanted to do is taken care of. So now I can go without, you know, feeling like, all right, I need to cut something short because I want to indulge myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works. And then from that point on, it's, you know, I have meal, and then I hold my meetings between 10 and 6 for the most part. So
Wow.
I have to squeeze stuff in there. Yeah.
And so when do you usually cut off your day? Like 6 p.m.?
Sometimes it depends. I mean, I'll cut off at 6, like the scheduling, the meetings, and really any outside work. Sometimes, man, I'm guilty of it. I'll come back and I'll start working on stuff that I'm working internally. Like, if I'm, for example, right now I'm developing an acumen assessment, and it's a software for hiring. So I'm super excited about that. I'll work that, on that in the morning, and then I'll wrap up my day after 6. And instead of, sitting there or watching TV or something, which sometimes I should, I'll just come back and then start messing around on my computer again. Yeah, I'm bad about that, man. I like.
I feel like we're all bad with that. Even though, like, I try and do, because I remember talking to you, I was like, all right, man, after like 6, I'm gonna turn everything off, and I really need to squeeze everything in between these times, and then like move time to family. But then like some will just like, oh, what about this? And then I'll just go down a rabbit hole on my laptop and just start working again.
Right. Something that I'm really bad about, man, is about grabbing the laptop and then sitting in front of the couch and dropping a movie. So I feel like I'm watching a movie, but in reality, like I'm not there, or or here. It's just part of the. I think it comes down to being it's one of the essences of being an entrepreneur, man. We get excited about stuff. We get complacency is not really one of our deals, man. And like a lot of people that I talk to in the podcast is they're the same way. Evil, for example, Dragunov, he's like, man, be obsessed or be average. That's his thing. That's what drives the guy. And I totally agree. It's sometimes you get married to an idea that's so badass, and then you're thinking how to make it better, and then every time you have a thought, you make it more exciting. So you come back to the drawing board, and but that kind of like I mean, it's really playtime, if you're honest. Right. It's really playtime, and so I'll leave playtime. Sometimes I'll come back to play after 6 p.m. People see it as work, I see it as playtime.
And so, how do you balance that with your family? And I feel like is a huge thing. Like most people, like you have to have a spouse who understands you and how you operate in the business and everything else.
Absolutely. There's this notion about work-life balance, and the idea of work-life balance is to have an equilibrium between the two, right? So you're right in the middle, and then I think, at least for me, and I'll speak for myself, it doesn't work that way. I'll get so caught up in something and then have so many things flowing through my head that what I need is counterbalance. So I need to be pulled out of that space and brought back into like the reality of things, instead of working and developing and dreaming and scheming stuff to make it happen. What I do is I've always had a home office, right? And at the beginning, I used to like lock it. Even if I wasn't in a meeting or something like that, I used to lock it and like I'm working. Do not, I'm blocked off. But then as your kids start growing, I mean, you're in the house and yet you're missing a whole bunch of stuff. And it's like right there. There's no point, it doesn't make sense. So now what I'll do if I'm on a Zoom call or something like that, meeting, I'll close the door. Other than that, it's open. So my kids are walking in, through my door all day long. They'll come, by and say or hi and whatever. Sometimes we'll jump in the pool and just kind of, do things throughout the day. And it's not, you have to find, a little bit of time to squeeze in there. Of course, I'll go into the office, I don't know, 2-3 times a week or something. But for the most part, I'm working out of the house, which I mean, I think I'm blessed in the ability to do that. And I'll make a conscious effort to have stuff to do like after hours. During the week we'll go get ice cream or something like that, but make that an activity that lasts, at 1 or 2 hours in the evening. And it's hard, man, to balance. I can't say that it's, oh yeah, you do this and that, because you know what? Sometimes the kids are not in the mood. Sometimes, hell, I'm not in the mood. I have to put myself in the mood, and it's just the reality of things. One of the things that I do ask for is if I'm spent and I'm like my eyes are bleeding from working all day, just pull me out, drag me out. Like that's what I tell my wife. Just pull me out of the office and give me a beer or something. We need to disconnect somehow.
Right. I mean, that's what, and like if it's ever that bad, or if I get overwhelmed, I just fold up my laptop and I'll just go outside and go to the park with my son, and then eventually I'll come back to it. But again, like when you're bleeding from the eyes, it's good to do that.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, the stuff is going to be there anyways. I'm pretty good about responding, especially when I'm working with a new account with clients, one-to-one or whatnot. I'm really good about responding and to all it. Sometimes though, you have to, like, it can wait 5 minutes. You can spend 5 minutes, here in this thing that's calling your action right now, and then go back to that. It's still gonna be there. You know what I mean? And that's been a process for me, because I'm the type of guy that if I see something just kind of catching fire, I'll jump on it like right away, even if it's not something that I have to do. So if it's something that my VA needs to do, I used to have that problem. I would look at it and then I would want to fix it instead of really completely delegating the thing. So that's helping me out a lot, man. Just delegation altogether.
And then let's talk about how your organizational psychology has changed your business, like what you went to college for, what you know about. It's helped me out a lot. And just knowing, for one, how to talk to the sellers, and then knowing how to hire on the right people. And like where
well, I mean, it's a game changer. So I got my bachelor's in business, and then I decided to stay in school. I mean, I like learning, right? I have affinity for learning new stuff and books and all that. So I mean, you can see the background, but I decided to learn about something that I was curious about. So instead of business, I already had the business, and I went through the bachelor's program, and I was learning stuff from it and then applying it the next day, and it was pretty cool. But I didn't think it was something that I couldn't have figured it out with Googling the stuff. So I'm not taking any value away from getting a bachelor's in business, but it was just something that I wasn't, it wasn't really gripping me. So I decided to jump on my master's degree in general psychology. So I went through that master's degree, and then I found out they had a second master's degree. Well, I was like 3/4 done with it, on industrial and organizational psychology, which is business psychology. So I was like, man. So I went through that thing as well after I wrapped up the first one, and what happens there? Like now I have the ability to understand people, read people. It's my thing. I love doing that, and it's for the purpose of communication, right? Communicating better. Everybody has their own way of communicating. And then, there's DISC, behavioral profiles. There's all kinds of stuff out there. But at the end of the day, there's still, stuff that goes beyond that. But when you take that and then you put it together with a good operating system, like your life just becomes so much easier. Meaning you're able to bring somebody that's going to match that spot, and they're not going to leave in 3 months. Or their quality, their job, the quality of their work is not going to drop in 3 months, because there's attrition. Like if somebody's not a fit, and I don't know if you've probably seen it, but if you hire somebody, they say all the right things right out of the gate. They're the perfect hire. You look at them, you get off, on the right foot. 3 months later, they start dropping their quality. 4 months later, they start, messing up on their follow-up. 6 months later, you have to tell them, hey, did you already do this? And
exactly.
What happens is that it's not an employee problem or a training problem. It's a hiring problem. Basically, you were the fallacy with all the hiring questionnaires. The traditional hiring questionnaires is that, okay, what are your references? Can you do this? Do you know Excel? Okay, you're hired. Boom. But really, if you don't hire for the strengths of the person, they're gonna get tired, just like anybody else. And what's going to happen? It's just going to fall through after a while. But just having the understanding and being able to do to hire in that fashion, it has helped me out a lot. So I'm delegating a lot of the stuff. Now I'm pretty much plugging people into into my operating system, or into my companies that have the ability to understand that. They love doing that. For example, if you talk to my director of operations, he can fine tune the heck out of anything that you give him. I'm not so like, he's way better than me at fine tuning things. I'm really good at getting something from a big picture and putting it all together and making it work. And then, getting all the pieces, getting them there. And then he's really good about, okay, can we move this? Can we fine tune this? Is this an extra step? Is this? So bringing him on was a really good thing, because it's helping me see things from a different perspective. But that's the thing, when you're able to hire the right way, you know that your callers are going to stay, they're not going to be running mojo and just like going through the list without actually making the calls, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say our biggest problem right now in our call center, and we have to hire so many people just to get it to work, is like we would have like someone's like on board, everything ready to go, and then they just drop off. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't fit. And so we started to implement disc tests, and then I want to get predictive index. I just don't want to do it quite yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those work, and they're all variations of the same principles. They do work. For example, I put one together a while back for a recruiting company that does insurance sales. And so I built this test. Basically, they have now the applicants or the salesmen. They have to take that test. If they get above a 75%, they move on to the hiring or to the oral board. But they don't have, like, you don't get swamped on the oral board with people that are not going to be fit for that test. And the way you do it is, you reverse engineer everything. Okay, where are the top producers? Where are they at? Talk to those people. What are the traits? And then you start connecting behavioral tendencies and stuff like that. Next thing you know, you have a model for it. You have a cool little model. Nothing is bulletproof, but it's gonna be a pretty good guideline, for hiring. And that's how I'm running my stuff. I do that at a more basic level with my company. For example, I was telling you about acquisitions. I put together a simple test. I do have behavioral tendencies on there, a couple of questions that are that are specifically tailored for the acquisition spots. And I opened up a few weeks back. Just posted I did a post on Instagram about hiring, had a bunch of applications come in, and really, what I went for was the people that were a match for that, and it's working great. So there's got to be a system in place for hiring.
Oh yeah, and you just probably saved me a lot of time and money. And so now we have that. And so let's talk about your wholesale business and what it looks like now and how it's structured and how you've kind of like stepped out slowly to where you are.
Okay. I'm an acquisitions guy. That's my thing. It's my bread and butter, negotiating, locking deals, and doing volume like that. So I was used to it when I started the wholesale. When I got out of Sean's and I got into my wholesale company, right? And needless to say, the first person I hired was transaction coordinator. It's like it wasn't the person I needed, but it was the person that I thought I needed. I really needed somebody for lead gen because I was used to talking to people and making the calls and everything. So I was spinning my wheels on a lot of volume that wasn't good and trying to do for people's job, with one phone line. So it wasn't working out properly. But that's where I started. Trial and error, and then of course talking to people that I know. I'm blessed to be in a pretty solid circle now, where like if you can't get an answer with the group of friends that you have or that I have there, it's like you need to be doing something else. But it's a learning process, man. I started like that, and then I wanted to micromanage everything. Even though I came from a space where I was able to delegate the transportation company, I went back to default and I started, rewiring, rethinking, and then re-wanting to do everything myself. So I started building putting the pieces together for an operating system. Now the way that looks is, I got smart about it, hired a lead manager. She started doing that stuff. I was still locking, and then the next person that I brought in was somebody for dispo, so I could just focus on locking. Dispo was doing transaction management as well. And then after those pieces were in place, I got out of acquisitions. That's when I started to transition out of acquisitions. And yeah, you'll see it. You'll see the hit. Because at the beginning, nobody's going to have, it doesn't matter if it's a family member, best friend or whatever, they're not going to have the same affinity for your business as you do. The level of effort, it's not going to be there right out of the gate. You have to build that. You have to create that. So people might get excited, but at the end of the day, there's still, time that has to go by before people really buy into it. And I did see a hit on the amount of deals, on the spreads, the averages, and it's scary, bro. Like when you're going through that, shit, like, yeah, it can get daunting. So so I hacked it out. I got over that, and then people started locking and stuff. So I was able to transition out of it. But what I was doing, which is really important, and everybody has their own way of doing this, but whenever you start doing something that's new to your company, just write it down. If it's on a napkin, bullet point style, write it down. Build a process for it. Next thing you know, you're going to have a collection of things. And then it's like a puzzle, man. As an entrepreneur, that's what you have to do. You have to put together the pieces that are not there yet. And the only way that's doable is if you start logging everything as it comes in. For example, we would have, one specific type of scenario when I was negotiating something. Like, all right, cool. So for this thing, I structured this deal this way. Boom, 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 boom. And it's in the library. It's in the bucket. And then down the road, it becomes a clause in your contract. It becomes, some different type of asset. Yeah, but that's how you start developing your IP, your intellectual property for your business. That's one of the biggest things that helped me build the operating system that I have now. So the way it works now, I have and I think it's funneled to one single space in lead generation. That's where your lead manager or managers live, if you have a couple. They have that conversation with them, and then it doesn't move on to my acquisitions until they approve it. So my acquisitions person stays locking. Like, that's what they know how to do. That's what they like doing. I want them to stay locking. I don't want them to spend time cold calling. You lose a lot of faith like that. You're wasting human capital. Yeah, exactly. So they get qualified, and then they move on to acquisitions. And from acquisitions, dispo. And then
what does it take for them to get qualified to move to acquisitions?
So this one I got from Brent. The 4 tiers of qualifying a prospect. I actually have a list of, I don't know, it's like 40 different things that are indicators, right? So as they're going through the conversation, they click on the indicators inside the system, and it'll light up red, blue, or green, or whatever. But then after that, they'll prime it, and they'll send it over if it's got 3 out of the 4 main pillars. Yeah, which Brent talks about on a regular basis. And yeah, so they have 3 out of 4. That's a lead. It's not subjective. I don't leave it up to the lead manager to, okay, I'm not sure if this is or not. Are the squares, checked off? Like, yes. Is there 3 out of 4? Yes, send it over. Then from that point forward, the acquisition guy, does his thing, and they lock it. They lock it, or they drop it, put it on follow-up or whatever. But yeah, so we go up. It's motivation, timeline, condition, and price. So 3 out of 4.
We do the same thing because of you now, and the leads managers calls. They go through the whole script. If we can get 3 out of 4, awesome, send it over. If not, just follow up with them in a month.
And that script that I sent you, it does. It's broken down from the sourcing, and then it goes on to the lead manager.
We have acquisitions. It has everything.
And then it goes down to the acquisitions. So it really, what it's designed to do is not to have too much redundancies, because what a lot of people or a lot of companies out there go through is they'll have the sourcing person, a cold caller, ask a set of questions. Then it comes to a lead manager, and then they ask the same set of questions. And then the acquisitions guy, by the time the seller gets asked the same thing 3 times, and I get it, to confirm stuff, but it gets, you want to ask new questions, discover a little more. So yeah, so we'll do discovery questions, and then what we do is we'll confirm that information instead of asking it again and not having it in that in that system. And it works. It just flows through the process, and it kind of it's linear, man. I love to think as the whole system is linear. But yeah, running a linear company has been a game changer.
And then, so we talked about your friend group. You want to talk about how they've helped you out a ton? And even being in your office, we're trying to create the same thing out here with the hub, but like the batch office is awesome, and then all you guys are so close. You want to talk about how that's helped you?
Oh yeah, man, it's insane. It's kind of funny how like the people got connected. I mean, Brent was the catalyst, at least for me. I was looking for an office space and really kind of landed across the hall. I met Brent before, but we weren't really, Brent Daniels, we weren't really, friends or anything. It's just, I knew him from meetups and things like that. And I got the office right across the hall from him. And so needless to say, a few days go by, and then, his team is over in my office, I'm over at their office, and we're just talking, exchanging, and it was such an open thing that that to me it was like I was not expecting that in real estate, especially. It's such a guarded industry. We're used to everybody being out there and biting everybody's heads off, and just people being sharks. Yeah. And that was so not the case. It's like we would sit down and then just break down deals. So like he would ask me, hey, what do you think about this? I would do the same thing. And I was putting together my operating system, the business model. He came over and he saw it one time, and he goes, dude, like you have to, like people have to find out about this. And that's really kind of what triggered the whole idea behind, dialing it in and then, putting it up for clients. But I mean, that was to me, it was an eye opener, because I didn't think my hashtag collaboration, Curtis. You hear that?
Oh yeah, man.
But it was an eye opener. A lot of times what happens is that we get caught up in our tunnel vision, and it's not, we don't see what everybody else is lacking. We don't see what everybody else needs. So we think everybody knows our stuff. Like, oh no, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna mention it, because they probably already know it. If I know it, they probably already, but it's not the case. And it's I don't know a lot of stuff that for example, you may think it's general knowledge, but that's a very common misconception, and that's really where where collaboration gets cut off. At least for me, is sometimes I wouldn't talk about things because I thought it was okay. No, this is basic. They already know it, and like it's pointless talk about it. But no, it's not the case. Like talking about systems, it's like you get attention on that kind of stuff. So anyways. Yeah, time goes by, and then Batch is building this office, and I met Evil and Annie at a conference where I was the keynote, and so I knew him from before. I knew Evil from before, and then Brent just brought me over. He goes, "No, man, if we're moving over there, Rafael's coming with us." I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm game." So we ended up over there, and then we just started hanging out with Jesse and Annie. Pace came in. As well at the same time than Jamil. So now it's Steve, he's got his office, but he's always over there. But it's a pretty cool dynamic that you have. I mean, when you have a power team and it's first off, you have to be open to reaching out for help. I'm horrible at that. I still am. Like I'll try to figure it out 3 times before I help you. And I'm getting better at that because it just takes too long to sit there and be stubborn. But it's I mean, you have to have somebody to reach out to, whether it be a mentor, it be a group of people, a mastermind that you're really comfortable with, or whatever. You can't do it all on your own, man. It's too taxing. To carry everything, like all the answers. For even now, like I'll look into my team for answers when I didn't used to do that before. I was the guy that had all the answers. Like, okay, I'm bringing people in, and then I have to train them on everything. So I can't capitalize on what they know. You know what I mean? The company can't capitalize on what they know. And now it's not that way anymore. So I'm hiring people that are better than me at stuff. And dude, it's so refreshing. Get over your ego and you're gonna be fine. But it's so refreshing to come in and like, hey, what do we do here? And I don't mind being the knucklehead, man, in the group, it's I want to be the dumbest guy in the room every day.
Systems are key, man.
Yep, absolutely.
So we got that. What has made your training and onboarding process simpler? Like, how are you getting people onboarded successfully past the hiring process and just streamlining that learning curve?
You know what I'm doing right now, and it's working. I do some coaching, but I'm taking the same approach to my team. So I take the same approach to my team and clients, and it's I mean, it's working. For example, the onboarding stuff. I was mentioning that I have an onboarding training for acquisitions. And so everything that I know, I compile it into a training, right? And I hire an acquisition. It starts with the application. So send out the application, they fill it in, I click a button and they get accepted, or they pass on to the next phase of it. And then they start getting the paperwork, but they also get access to like a preliminary training just to kind of gauge it. And one thing that I do when I'm first hiring too is I wait for them to reach out. I want to see how excited they are about reaching out. So I don't want the employee or the applicant that sends something in and then they don't follow up with it. If they'll send you an email or something like that, but if they forget, like they gotta let me know that they're excited about it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. And then they go through the hiring process. So for example, right now for acquisitions, I have simple onboarding. It's the day one is simple onboarding. So we talk about just the layout, the structure of the company, the expectations. That's like day one, step one. So I have the whole breakdown of what's expected, and they can refer back to it every single, whenever they need it. It's there, it's clear. There's no ambiguities about it. So I have that, and then we have trainings on some of the basic stuff like setting up your account and that sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So the tasky stuff that takes forever, I put it in a video and then slapped it on a training. And then from that point on, so I'll have a set of different trainings on day two. But what I do is I'll have an onboarding call every morning for the first week with that applicant. So I'll talk to them. All right, so you watched this yesterday, this, and that. And then what questions do you have? We break it down. We spend about an hour, and I'll record that session, and I'll send it back to them for reference afterwards. And then after day three for acquisitions, I start them on dead leads. So by then they already got the script. They already got some access to smartphone and all that stuff. So they have the tools, right? They don't have the know-how yet. But the trial by fire, man, is the fastest way to learn. So they have a link on there. I don't have to give them anything or anything. They have a link on there. They click on it. They'll go directly to my database, and then they start just shooting at dead leads. Boom, 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 and then bring whatever you can back from these leads, and then we'll dissect it the next day. So I'll go on the next onboarding call. It's a one-on-one. So I'll take the time to break it down with them, and then what did you learn? What type of conversation did you have? And how to go, and then we start, breaking it down and really kind of just getting them comfortable with what the spot is gonna require. And then the last 2 days are behavioral tendencies, recognitions, discs, sort of stuff. And for that, I have masterclass. And then the last day, it's about negotiation. So the last day, I cap it off with a negotiation training after they've had a few conversations, after they've been practicing runs and stuff like that. So they have some substance to go back to instead of just theory. But it's a mix of both. Okay. I've never been a fan of just theory.
And so you have a disc masterclass that you put them through?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know. That's a new one.
Yeah. I'll send you info on it. I'll send you info. I'm actually going to put it up. We're in the process of putting it up for the public. It's going to be on the CEO Pulse website.
Okay. Let's talk a lot about CEO Pulse and like what you're doing with that. Your Podio is game changing. I'll put it up against anybody else's. I send in a review. I save 60 hours a week from the Podio alone. So I've replaced an employee and a half, whether that's in the States or VA, just from using my Podio to look up comps, generate contracts, everything. And just pushing everything over, it's made my life so easy.
No, I appreciate that, man. I'm happy that you find it useful. It's I mean, for me, it has been a game changer. We get people, we plug them in, and then they start hacking away at it. But it's easy to do something like that when you have the infrastructure, and it saves on training. You don't have, I don't know. It's a game changer. Yeah. If they want more, I don't want to do a sales pitch on your show, but if they want more info on it, they can look it up online.
Awesome. If you guys are at a point to where you are overwhelmed with like leads and everything else and you're kind of clustered, it's something you guys for sure need to reach out to. I remember the only reason I did transition is because I was like, okay, I'm at a free Podio and we're getting more leads and I'm going to pay for something anyways. And I have to like pay for that monthly subscription. And so I was like, yeah, it's time to grow.
More than that, man. I think it's about accountability. When there's nothing there and it's all subjective on spreadsheets and you're just relying on memory, a lot of stuff is going to fall through the cracks. Follow-ups are going to fall through the cracks. And you know what that translates to? It translates to dollars. You know, how many leads sold because they weren't on your queue to follow up automatically. You know, that sort of thing. And there's systems that do it, but I don't know. This one, what I like about it is that it carries a CRM is a place to put your information in. An operating system does a lot of the work, and it saves us a lot of work. So, you know, it just makes life easier for everybody in the company. So
exactly. And then we'll go through these comments. Finding your KPIs within your team with each individual person. Let's talk about your huddles. Do you do daily huddles and do they report on daily KPIs?
No, we were doing that for a while, but then it gets redundant. There's not really too much to communicate. When you need daily huddles is when you don't have something to hold everybody accountable automatically with, and we have that. So for example, I'll log into my dashboard, and you know the amount of calls that were done from not from cold callers or anything like it's on there. Conversations are on there. The follow-ups for today are on there. Follow-ups for yesterday are on there. We get an end of day report. Everybody fills that out. They fill that in. We get metrics. It goes over to the KPIs automatically. So I can log in at any time and know exactly what my team is doing. We even have a section it'll notify or it'll let us know to the minute like who's working on it, who's making calls, who's not. So we have that in place for the purpose of not micromanaging. So we don't micromanage. We don't have to. We'll log in if we see something that needs attention. Yeah, we can get to it. But now, for example, we started with daily huddles, then dialed it back to 2 times a week, and now we're doing 1 time a week. But it does. I mean, that's the whole team huddle. So that's not the one-to-one calls, for example, that I make out to my acquisition people, and I have direct conversations with my director of operations on a daily, you know, that sort of stuff. But so communication is there. Official huddles, we do them once a week.
Okay. Great watching this. Oh, wow. Naples, Florida. Look at us go.
Hey, what's going on?
And then we lay out your expectations. Organizational psychology. I feel like I want to talk to you about one more thing, but I mean, I get to call you. These guys can't. Where can I reach out to you on, man? And how can they find out more about you and like your podcast? I know you do consulting and your Podio.
Yeah. So if they want to reach out, I mean, if you want to post the link, if you have access to the social media, I mean, post a link on there, and then they can go there. I'll drop the script if you guys want it. I mean, it's a really good tool. And I mean, it's something that I can give your audience if they want to, take a walk away with something from here, tangible. Yeah, but I'm pretty responsive on Instagram at rafael.co-polls. You can just send me a direct, message there and hit me up. Follow the podcast. I have the CEO Pulse podcast. It's on YouTube and iTunes. And I mean, we sit down and just break down entrepreneurship on that. And we talk about a lot of my, just a lot of my friends happen to be in real estate. So we talk a lot about real estate, but we're focused on the entrepreneur side of things. So it's not really dialing in on marketing strategies or what list are you hitting. It's more of on the overall picture of the entrepreneur. How are you dealing with problems, general principles that can be applied across different industries, and that sort of stuff. So I think it's one of the topics that's somewhat lacking. I mean, a lot of people get really technical in conversations, but we've had conversations from meditation to spirituality to how that connects with personal growth and the growth of your business and all that stuff. So
exactly, and that's where I want to take this, because like everybody talks about, oh, hit this script, cold call this way, blah blah blah. But my big thing is like nobody talks about like the me time, the family time, the mental health aspect, even like. If you're just getting in entrepreneurship, like I'm 25 and I'm hiring on 40-year-old men sometimes, and like just how to handle that, how to hire people on the right way, all of that stuff. And I think it does transcend over several different industries. Like you could listen to this and everything you do, and you could apply a lot of the stuff into whatever industry you're going into.
Yeah, well, a lot of my clients, they're not just in real estate. So I do coaching, and then I do on the organizational side of things, or organizational psychology side of things, I'll do one-to-one coaching with boards and CEOs, but they're not in real estate. For example, I have clients in restaurants, I have clients in gym, fitness industry. I'm sorry, and just different verticals. You know what I mean? And it's crazy, but the principles are very similar. So we get real technical about stuff, and my playground is real estate. It's the vehicle that I choose now, but the principles of entrepreneurship and business and hiring and managing, they're very, very, they're evergreen. So they apply to a lot of different industries. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's the I have the CEO Pulse podcast. I use a lot of the psychology principles to kind of hold those conversations. And that's one thing, but I also have, through CEO Pulse, I'm putting together just resources. Basically, man, I'm thinking about the stuff that I didn't have when I got started when I was 21. I was going to my SBA, trying to look, like, how do I put a business plan together? And I felt like I couldn't live or do a business or do anything because I didn't have my business plan. Little did I know that it doesn't really, do much for you. Like, it'll help kind of painting the starting picture, but it's not the practical stuff to learn as you're getting started. So I was looking for those resources. I couldn't find much. Now I feel like there's got to be people that are in that space. So we try to cover it all not through my eyes, but through people who know more about me in their topic. So.
And then what 2 books would you recommend someone just getting started, and then someone who wants to scale? Let's say they're doing like 2 deals a month and they want to get to like 10.
And you said what 2 books or?
Yeah, what 2 books?
Oh, books. Well, if they're scaling, the first thing that you need to scale is going to be yourself. That's like, you can't scale anything unless you scale yourself. Meaning that if you're caught in a mindset where you're limited, where you think you only believe that you can do everything yourself, scaling is not going to work. It doesn't matter what you do, because you're going to be micromanaging the team. The culture is going to be broken. So you have to scale your thinking to be able to scale your business. One book that it was really, really interesting when I read it, and it's all focused really on self-image. It's called cybernetics.
Yep.
Cybernetics. Yeah, it was actually written by a surgeon. So, but it really dives into what it takes to create that self-image and break out of it if you're tied down. That's level 1. I mean, it's really gonna be working on your leadership stuff, not really scaling on marketing and then looking at strategies to hire better, more lead man. It's, if you're gonna scale, the first stop is gonna be you. That's what I'm trying to get to. But it starts with you. It starts with you having that conversation with yourself, and then you wrapping your head around the fact that, okay, cool, I don't know everything. I need to scale myself. I need to grow. I need to grow my mentality, grow my emotional IQ, and then my mindset has to get to that point. But that's a really good book for that. And then if you want to get technical, the E-Myth is a really good book as well. If you want to get more on the technical side of business, the E-Myth is really, like, it'll walk you through setting up your business as a franchise model. And when you do that, you can step away from it, and then the operation still works. So those 2, yeah.
Tremendous value. Yeah, man, you brought us so much value today. They want the script. I'll take it and I'll post it in our Central Valley Wholesalers group. Just in there, cool. The one that you sent me, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This one's a long one. It's all your minds of the others.
What's up, Josh?
What's going on, Josh?
Yeah, if you can't give 100%, don't give any.
Yeah, man. And then what system or software could your business not run without?
Podio. Yeah, I'm biased. I'm running I run my personal life through that platform. For example, one thing that that I added recently to it, it's an A board. So it's just an actions board. But I have a hot link. It's a hot button. I'll click on it on my buttons and on my bookmarks. I'm sorry, and it'll take me straight to my board. And I have things that are upcoming, things that are being delegated. It's like a robust, like scaled up to-do list. But yeah, man, it's I use it for everything.
That's cool. And then the book is called Psycho-Cybernetics.
Psycho-Cybernetics.
I'm done reading it for a second time. I feel like it's huge. No matter like really where you are, you got to stay up here, man, set up.
And I mean, there's 1,000 books I could recommend, but the two that pop up, one in self-image, self-growth, is that book, and then the other one is the E-Myth. I think the E-Myth is yeah, people talk about it, not as much as, for example, Traction and those books. Those are the really good books, but I think that E-Myth hits it from a different perspective. So it talks about KPIs as well and all that, but it just dives deeper into the whole concept of creating with the onset of walking away from the company.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about wholesaling that way. They just think they're just going to go out and do deals. But I mean, that's a really cool job, but we get into this for freedom. Exactly. All right, man. Any parting words?
No, man. Just very grateful. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man. Thanks for
Happy
coming
you're doing well.